Hey, the name's Andrew Scott. I recorded a bunch of videos previously about the situation. Now I'm going to record a bunch of videos according to, the situation I'm in now and the situations I've had to deal with in the past. It's going to be more of a counseling session for myself, be able to speak to somebody else without having anyone judge. And honestly, this is for me, not for you. So if I get demonetized, I don't really care. So, for each and one of the people that I have spoken to, this is going to be a story on everything that's happened between me and that one person. This video is going to be everything that happened to me in my life. I'll make separate videos for each and every single person so that everyone gets the true story of everything that's been happening throughout my life. So I'm no longer perceived as the bad guy for trying to do right. So, my story begins from my parents. They constantly were fighting, never could get along, ever since I was born. When I was born, everyone gasped and said I thought it was supposed to be a girl. Even the doctor said I was supposed to be a girl. Well, came out with a penis. Apparently they didn't want me in the first place, and they wanted me with a vagina a lot more. So, I had to wear a bunch of girl clothes for a while. My mother was yelling and screaming at my father, and my father did the same. My father was the only one taking care of me during the time frame between 1 through 3, and my mother was so pissed off with my father, that when he was when they were separate, he decided to date another girl, and my mother had to call the authorities, and now he has a felony charge over having sex with an underage female, consensual, because he was a year older than her. We're in my dad's dream to become an electrician. And again, he didn't come up with that dream until the last year of high school. He barely made it to college for like a few terms, never completed. I don't feel like he was smart enough for it, because I don't feel like he worked hard enough for it. From pictures I've seen of him, he looked like a punk. I mean, he stole his mother's car several times to go to Las Vegas. In Oregon. He's crashed a couple different vehicles, and even skid a vehicle on grass going 3 to 6 360s. He's not a real prize winner. My mother wasn't much different. She didn't really take care of me much, and I had to be transported between two grandmothers, on my father's and my mother's side. And let's just say my mother's my grandmother, is a very cranky old woman. My grandmother Alita, on my father's side, very loving, caring, and wonderful person overall. She just gives up a little too easily on things like her exercise or a weight problem. And she cries a lot. My mother was the type of person, once I finally was in my mother's full custody, because that was law, the mother gets full rights no matter what scenario, in Oregon in 2003, 2002 time era. I was moved out of Grants Pass and went to Alaska, Kodiak, Alaska, an island. And let's just say I moved 7 times before the age of 6. I went to Alaska, a short time period, living with my grandma. Then we went to Alabama. Sweet Home, Alabama. Lived with her ex. Not my father, just some other white guy. Then we moved to Las Vegas. She met up with a guy named Clarence. Had a little fun with him, dated him. And that's where my sister came from, Francesca. Now, Clarence is a bit of a darker fellow, like my shirt. And my sister came out somewhere between. What? Mulatto? That's how the proper term is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I loved her all the same. No difference there because I think we were too young for racism to even exist in our brains. And I didn't care either way. While we were in Las Vegas, there's been many times where I would try to get my mother's attention. The only time I could is when I had to rub my mother's back. And these are during the time eras where she didn't pay attention to us at all. She would lock up the fridge with a padlock, and she'd be gone half the day for work, but would leave us behind. When we were we moved back up into Alaska. During the time period, she was actually finding a babysitter for us. During that, there was like 25 other kids there at the same house. The babysitter that didn't really do well. That's where I learned that double dipping was a bad thing. But there was not the best. Got screamed at, got yelled at, and school came out the same for me. During the time frame, I was at a preschool in Alaska, got bullied, picked on, and was kicked out of the school at 5 years old. It's also the same time while me and my sister were fighting once. My mom screamed at me so bad she kicked me out of the fucking house. It's only the middle of winter in an apartment building upstairs, and granted the hallways that lead between each building are covered, but this is still the middle of winter in Alaska. She kicked me out of the house. So me and my shorts grabbed a coat and walked out, feeling unwanted, unloved. So what are kids supposed to do at that age? When they just get screamed at and kicked out. At 5 fucking years old. And when the sister got treated so much better. I walked a couple miles in 4 feet of snow. Granted, it's the middle of the city, so the snow is outside, not necessarily on the sidewalks. But you can see snow so high, it was taller than me. You see it everywhere. I walked up the road for a mile, maybe even 2. My feet were hurting. I was freezing. Came out of this corner, and it's well curved, and there's this school, and a teacher walking out spotted me, asked me where my parents were. I told her I got kicked out, and I was just down the road. She walked me back. Apparently she was good friends with my stepmother as now. So we walked back and the police were there. My mother said she scoured the entire area, driving one side of the road to the other side. I didn't leave that road at all. I was on the same street the entire time. But Because she couldn't find me? Huh. Didn't sound like she cared. She cared just enough. Maybe someone convinced her to do it. Maybe she called someone and be like, hey, my kid ran away. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to call the police and try to find him. I bet she's like, I'm too busy, too bored to call, too lazy to go and try to find him. So I'm just gonna call the police. Hey, police, my child ran away, and he's 5 years old. They didn't really search for me either. It wasn't until a teacher walked me back that I actually got home. I got beat up in school several thousand times. So, life when I was a baby, not very good. And it didn't continue. Well, it continued. With my life shit. Literally, my life full of shit. My mother gave me up. Said she couldn't take care of me anymore. And this is right when she got with a guy named Thomas. Because Clarence was only a little time fling. Had a kid and gone. He's an awesome guy, Clarence. He just wasn't prepared to be a father. An uncle, maybe. Not a father. He didn't have his shit together. Liked to spend too much money on stupid stuff. Thomas, though, on the other hand, was a bad father. And I'll talk more about him later. And yes, he is about the same color as my shirt. I guess the phrase, once you go black, you never go back, came into play. Funny. Maybe my dad wasn't long enough. But as I was growing up, my mom gave me up to my father. I had my own room with my father. The fact that she would just give me up and I wouldn't be able to see her, that's hurtful. That's cruel, heartless. I got my own room. Got a relatively decent amount of toys. But I guess during that time frame is when it stops. Because then he'd get angry, yell and scream, and even cause physical hurt and damage. My aunt got me a pet, rats. Technically they're wild. But here's how far my father would go. I didn't clean my room one time and I didn't feel like it. So you know what he did? He took my pet rats and fed them to a snake. He fed my pets to a snake. Funny thing is, though, they're rats. They were wild. They ate the snake. At least 30% of the entire body of the snake was devoured. The snake was near dead. So he took those same rats, stabbed them with a knife, kitchen knife, because of his own doing. Does he admit he fucked up? No. He stripped my entire room several times over, down to just a bed. I never got a fancy bed either. It was always on the ground. Be some nights I can't even fall asleep. And other nights I wait and close the door, and I sleep with my eyes open, worried that he might come out. Tried to make friends. Didn't work out so well. Just got picked on. During school, this is Parkside Elementary, a kid named William. I was defending people I thought were my friends, so he beat me up for it. I never threw a punch. I didn't feel like the need to be. I don't like to hurt people, because I know how it feels. I talked to the teacher or the staff on board. You know what they did? They sent him into the office and said, "Don't do it again." Next day comes, he does it again. He beats me up again. Talk to the teacher again. Nothing. And my friends didn't say thank you. They just, I don't know, pretty much vanished. Didn't want to hang out with me. I'm the bad guy. I'm gonna try to make another friend. A girl named Brittany. She invited me to a birthday because we were having fun. I got her presents. A blue heart-shaped backpack, clear, with a bunch of makeup in it. I didn't know what to get her. It looked shiny. She started hating me the next day, as if I killed her dog. So I started asking why. She never gave me an answer to this day. A kid named Dylan always would flip out on me, beat the living shit out of me. No repercussions. And even the teachers would yell at me. I would be the one getting in trouble for literally nothing. And there was one time where I just had it. I freaked out so bad the teachers called the cops on me. I accidentally put one of them into a hospital because they jumped on me as I was trying to get away. Full-blown meltdown. That trend only continued. At fifth grade, I started helping out the cafeteria because I had nothing left to do. Going to hang out with. Going to call a friend. No point. Helped out cafeteria. The trend still continued until middle school. Getting picked on, bullied. I had 60 referrals in just half a year. Imagine how many I had throughout the entire time. They put me on half days throughout all my middle school career. I helped out the cafeteria pretty much every single time. Every single year. Did I have friends? No. Did I get beat up? Yes. Did I get laughed at and tortured? Yes. And that's only at school, not letting alone at home too. So I get from both ends. By between 5th and 6th grade, my dad moves with my stepmother and me. We moved from a trailer park to him having his own house. I had my own room, but I didn't feel safe. Told me a week into having to live there, to find a friend. I searched day in and day out. By the third day, some young woman, or some young lady, about around my age, 3 years younger than me, during the time frame, said hi, right when I was going into my driveway. Right on the road. She asked if I had anyone to hang out with, or if I have any friends. I said no. Her name is Viviana Hager. We went to my house, which is like few feet away from where we were. Turns out she lived right behind me. She was my only friend during the time. My first friend. That continued until high school. First year. Me and her laughed, played. I went to a martial arts class with her father being the teacher. Then there would be several times at school I would throw desks because I get so angry. Or at home, I would just blow up. For some odd reason, things just came late for me. Apparently I wasn't potty trained until 12 years old. And quite literally anything I do, I just get yelled, screamed at, and there's been times I've been thrown across the room, even in front of my cousin. I got thrown into my cousin, getting kicked out several times. By like 7th, 8th grade, I started learning everything to do with camping, because I know I was going to get kicked out. Me and my friend actually started dating during a time. We were so close, we can pretty much finish each other's sentences. There is 2 major differences between me and her, though. She grew up with a loving, caring family and was the support. I grew up with getting hurt, beaten, and abused. Betrayed. By people I thought were supposed to love me. Can you make sure it's still recording? Turns around us. When I reached about, I want to say, 8 years old. That's about 5th grade, right? My mother came back to Grants Pass with my sister and Thomas. Me and my sister would constantly fight, and I would always be the butt end of the trouble. I'd get in trouble every single day there, maybe twice a day. And there has been many times where I'd be forced to write pages of just this one sentence of what I did wrong. But each front and back is one page to my stepfather, Thomas. So at this point, I'd be crying and breaking my utensil for writing, to the point they gave me a crown. I break it so much it turned to dust. Can't write with dust. And there was a couple times I remember my mother called the cops on me. The cops came and put me in metal bar handcuffs, not the chain ones. And flipped out. I don't know if my stepfather just had it one day, but not long afterwards, or long afterwards, I honestly don't remember much. He took, okay, me and my sister were fighting in this one scenario. He made us hold a can straight out for a time period long, about 5 minutes. My sister did it. How she got used to it. I couldn't do it. So what does my stepdad do? He takes a fucking studded belt, a metal belt, wires sticking out of the fucking thing, and he hits me with it repeatedly, over and over and over and over again. My entire body was bruised from my head to my toes. Some bruises bigger than a basketball, and others deeper than my bones are. The wires sticking out of the fucking thing were super sharp, making my hands bleed so bad they turned the high-pressured faucet crimson red. You know how much it takes to be able to turn water, high-powered water, another color? It takes a lot. Just imagine food coloring. It's in little containers. Get 8 of those and squeeze them all at the same time. That's how fast it blended together. That's how much you need to take for it to blend together. And that's how bad my bleeding was, because I had open wounds just gushing out because they hit the veins throughout my entire hands and wrists. I was literally holding my blood, and that wasn't even including the bloody nose I had. And he's just like trying to wash away the evidence before mother gets home, while my sister's playing outside with her friend. You know what that kind of stuff does to a kid? Especially one that's now figuring out that he's autistic. At 21 years old, he is now figuring out he's autistic. Blowouts, autistic. The lack of understanding the learning lessons and being put into special education classes, autistic. Half days, autistic. Did anyone bother trying to figure out if I was or not? No. It wasn't until recently, when this butthead behind me tried finding out if I was, and helped me figure it out. I've gotten hurt.